I woke up a little later than usual on a quiet Monday morning. The light was soft through my window, and for a moment, I stayed in bed and listened to the sounds outside. It was one of those slow mornings when everything feels calm and simple. I had work at 9, so I knew I needed to get ready soon. I got out of bed, washed my face, and made a cup of tea. The warm cup in my hands made me feel awake and peaceful. While I ate a quick breakfast, I checked the time on my phone and saw that I still had enough time to catch the bus. I felt relaxed, and I thought it would be an easy start of the day. After breakfast, I put on my shoes, grabbed my bag, and walked out of my apartment. The air was cool, and the street was still quiet. I liked that feeling in the morning when the city has not become busy yet. I walked to the bus stop at the corner and stood there with a few other people. One man was looking at his watch, and a woman was holding a coffee cup and scrolling on her phone. I looked down the road and waited for my bus. I had taken this bus many times before, so I knew the route well. I just needed to wait for the right one and get to work on time. I checked my phone again and saw that I still had about 10 minutes. I thought, good, everything is fine. Then something strange happened. A small group of children walked by, laughing loudly, and I turned my head for just a second. When I looked back, I saw the bus coming around the corner much earlier than I expected. It was already close to the stop. I quickly stood up straighter and looked for the bus number. My heart beat faster when I realized it was my bus. I wanted to wave, but I was too slow. The bus doors opened for another person a little farther ahead, and then, before I could move, the doors closed again. The bus pulled away from the stop and kept going down the street. I stood there in silence for a second, feeling hot and embarrassed. I had missed it by only a few seconds. I looked at the people around me, but no one seemed surprised. They just kept waiting for the next bus. I felt disappointed and a little annoyed with myself. I had left home on time, but one small moment had changed everything. At first, I wanted to be upset. I looked at my phone and saw that I would probably be late for work now. But then I took a deep breath and tried to calm down. There was nothing I could do about the bus I had missed. I sent a quick message to my boss and explained that I was running a little late. To my surprise, she replied with a simple, "No problem. Be safe." That made me feel much better. I decided to sit on a bench near the stop and wait for the next bus. The sun was warmer now, and the street was starting to become busy. A bakery nearby opened its door, and I could smell fresh bread. That smell made me smile. While I waited, I bought a small pastry and some water from a nearby shop. It was not the morning I expected, but it was not so bad after all. When the next bus finally arrived, I got on and found a seat by the window. As the bus moved through the city, I watched the streets, the shops, and the people walking by. I still felt a little silly for missing the bus, but I also felt calmer now. I realized that one small mistake does not have to ruin the whole day. Sometimes life is not perfect, and sometimes we are late or make a bad choice for a moment. That is okay. We just have to breathe, stay patient, and keep going. When I arrived at work, I was only a short time late, and the rest of the day went well. That morning taught me something simple. Even when things do not go as planned, the day can still turn out fine. And now, every time I go to the bus stop, I check the road a little more carefully.
It was a bright and warm morning, and I felt ready for a good day. I woke up early, took a shower, and made a simple breakfast with bread and eggs. While I was eating, I listened to some soft music and looked out the window. The street was already busy, and people were walking to work or school. I checked the time and saw that I needed to leave soon. I quickly finished my food, put on my jacket, and grabbed my phone and keys from the table. I felt organized and calm, and I thought everything was going well. I closed the door behind me and started walking toward the bus stop with a small smile on my face. The air outside was fresh, and I enjoyed the short walk. I saw a neighbor walking her dog, and we said a quick good morning to each other. When I arrived at the bus stop, there were already a few people waiting. I stood there and checked my phone while I waited. After a few minutes, the bus arrived, and I got on with the other passengers. I found a seat near the window and relaxed as the bus started moving. I watched the city pass by and thought about my plans for the day. Everything felt normal and easy. After some time, my stop came, and I got off the bus. I walked toward a bakery near my workplace because I wanted to buy a coffee before starting my day. Inside the bakery, it was warm and smelled like fresh coffee and bread. I stood in line and looked at the menu. When it was my turn, I smiled and ordered a coffee and a small sandwich. The worker nodded and prepared my order. I felt happy and ready to enjoy my breakfast. But when I reached into my pocket to pay, I suddenly stopped. My heart dropped. My wallet was not there. I checked my other pocket, then my jacket, then my bag. Nothing. I felt my face become hot, and my hands started to move faster. I knew right away what had happened. I had forgotten my wallet at home. I stood there in silence for a moment, feeling embarrassed and worried. The worker looked at me kindly and asked, "Is everything okay?" I took a small breath and said, "I'm sorry, I forgot my wallet." For a moment, I did not know what to do. I thought about leaving the bakery, but I already ordered my food. Then I remembered my phone. I quickly opened my banking app and asked, "Can I pay with my phone?" The worker smiled and said, "Yes, no problem." I felt a wave of relief. My hands were still a little shaky, but I was able to complete the payment. After that, I moved to a small table and sat down with my coffee and sandwich. I took a deep breath and slowly relaxed. I even laughed a little at myself. It was such a simple mistake, but it made me feel so stressed for a moment. As I ate, I sent a message to myself to remember my wallet next time before leaving home. After I finished my breakfast, I walked to work and started my day as usual. Everything went fine, and I felt more calm again, but I kept thinking about that moment in the bakery. It showed me how easy it is to forget something important when we are in a hurry or not paying attention. Now, before I leave my home, I always stop for a few seconds and check phone, keys, and wallet. That small habit helps me feel more prepared and less stressed. Forgetting my wallet was not a big problem in the end, but it was a good lesson for me. Sometimes, small mistakes can teach us simple and useful things for our daily life.
It was a quiet Friday evening, and I wanted to do something simple and nice for myself after a long week. I had worked hard all day, and by the time evening came, I felt tired and hungry. I decided to go to a small restaurant near my home that I liked very much. It was warm inside, with soft music playing in the background and the smell of fresh food in the air. I found a table by the window, sat down, and looked around at the other people enjoying their meals. It felt cozy and calm, and I was happy to be there. I opened the menu, took my time, and thought about what I wanted to eat. I was in a good mood and looking forward to a nice dinner. A friendly waiter came to my table after a few minutes. He smiled and asked what I wanted to order. I looked at the menu again and saw a dish that sounded good. I wanted something warm and filling, so I chose what I thought was a chicken meal with rice and vegetables. I said the name of the dish clearly, or so I thought, and the waiter nodded with a smile. I felt pleased because I did not need much time to decide. After that, I sat back in my chair and waited. I looked out the window, listened to the soft music, and watched people walking on the street outside. The restaurant felt peaceful, and I started to feel more relaxed. I was already imagining the taste of my food, and how nice it would be to eat after such a busy day. After a short wait, the waiter returned with my meal. It looked very nice on the plate, and I smiled politely. I did not check it carefully because I trusted that it was what I had ordered. The smell was strong, but I thought that was normal. I picked up my fork and took my first bite. At first, I felt confused. The taste was very different from what I expected. It was spicy, and there was no chicken at all. I looked down at the plate again and saw fish, not chicken. My eyes grew wide, and I felt a little embarrassed. I had ordered the wrong food without noticing it. I must have read the menu too quickly or said the wrong name by mistake. My face felt warm, and I did not know whether to laugh or feel sorry. The waiter came back to check on me, and I gently told him, "I think I ordered the wrong dish." The waiter was very kind and smiled right away. He said it was no problem at all and asked if I would like to change it. I felt much better after hearing that. I explained that I had wanted the chicken meal, but I had chosen the fish dish by mistake. The waiter was understanding and took the plate away. A few minutes later, he came back with the correct meal, and this time I looked at it carefully before taking a bite. It was exactly what I wanted. The chicken was warm, the rice was soft, and the vegetables tasted fresh. I felt relieved and happy. I even laughed a little at myself because the mistake was so simple. The waiter was very patient, and I was thankful for that. I ate slowly and enjoyed every bite, feeling much calmer than before. By the end of the meal, I was smiling again. The evening had started with a small mistake, but it turned into a nice memory. I realized that sometimes we make simple errors when we are tired or hungry, and that is part of daily life. It is easy to feel embarrassed in the moment, but most small problems are not as serious as they seem. What mattered most was that I stayed calm and asked for help politely. That made everything easier. When I left the restaurant, I felt full, relaxed, and a little wiser too. Now, whenever I order food in a restaurant, I read the menu more carefully before I speak. It was just one small mistake, but it taught me to slow down and pay attention.
Last Saturday, I decided to visit a new neighborhood in my city. I had heard that it was a nice place with small coffee shop, quiet streets, and a big park. I wanted to walk around, relax, and maybe try a new place to eat. In the morning, I got ready slowly and felt excited about the plan. Before leaving home, I checked the address on my phone and opened my GPS app. I thought it would be easy to find the place because I could follow the directions step by step. I put my phone in my hand, took a deep breath, and left my house with a smile. It felt like a small adventure in a new part of the city. I took a bus and watched the city change through the window. The streets became quieter, and the buildings looked different from the ones near my home. After some time, I got off the bus and looked at my phone again. The GPS showed a blue line, and I started to walk in that direction. At first, everything was simple. I followed the streets, turned left and right, and looked at the names of the roads. The neighborhood was calm and clean, and I liked the feeling of being somewhere new. I saw a few small shops and people walking their dogs. I felt relaxed and curious. I trusted the GPS and did not think too much about where I was going. I just followed the instructions on the screen. After a while, things started to feel strange. The streets became very quiet, and I did not see many people around me. I looked at the map again, and the blue line suddenly changed. The GPS told me to turn right, but the street looked very small and empty. I followed it anyway, thinking it was correct. Then, after a few minutes, the GPS voice said, "Turn left," but there was no street on the left side. I stopped walking and looked around. I felt confused and a little worried. I tried to move the map on my phone, but it did not help. The blue dot moved slowly, and I was not sure where I was. My heart started to beat faster, and I thought, I think I am lost. I looked down the street and saw no clear sign or familiar place. The GPS was not helping, and I felt alone in a place I did not know. I took a deep breath and decided to stay calm. I knew that panic would not help me. After a moment, I saw a small coffee shop on the corner of the street. There were a few people sitting outside, drinking coffee and talking. I walked toward them and felt a little better. I went inside and asked the person at the counter, "Excuse me, can you help me? I think I am lost." The person smiled kindly and asked where I wanted to go. I showed the address on my phone, and they nodded right away. They explained that the GPS sometimes makes mistakes in that area and gave me simple directions. They even pointed to the correct street on a small paper map. I thanked them with a big smile and followed their directions. After walking for about 10 minutes, I finally saw the park I was looking for. I felt so relieved and happy. When I arrived at the park, I sat on a bench and took a deep breath. The place was beautiful with green trees and people enjoying the day. I smiled and thought about what had happened. Getting lost was not a good feeling, but it also became part of my adventure. I learned that technology is helpful, but it is not always perfect. Sometimes, it is okay to stop, ask for help, and trust people around you. The experience made me feel more confident, and I was proud that I stayed calm and found my way. After that, I walked around the park and enjoyed the rest of my day. Now, when I visit a new place, I still use my GPS, but I also pay more attention to the streets and signs around me.
It was a normal Saturday morning, and I decided to go to the grocery store to buy a few things for the week. I needed bread, milk, fruit, and some vegetables, so I made a simple list before leaving home. The weather was nice, and I liked the idea of doing a quiet daily life task by myself. I put my phone and shopping list in my pocket, took my small bag, and walked to the store near my house. The grocery store was already busy when I arrived, but I did not mind. I liked the soft sounds of people talking, the beeping of the cash register, and the smell of fresh food. I picked up a shopping cart near the entrance and thought I was ready to start my shopping. Everything felt ordinary and easy, and I felt calm as I moved inside and looked at the long shelves full of food. I began my shopping with the items on my list. First, I went to the bread section and chose a loaf that looked fresh. Then, I walked to the dairy aisle and took a carton of milk. After that, I looked at the fruit and picked some apples and bananas. The store was a little crowded, but I found it easy to move around with my cart. I listened to people around me having small conversation, and I felt like just another person doing normal daily life things. At one point, I stopped near the vegetables and looked at my list again. I wanted carrots, tomatoes, and lettuce, so I turned my cart and started moving to the next aisle. I remember seeing another cart near mine, but I did not think much about it. It was the same color and looked almost exactly like mine, so I kept going without paying close attention. I felt sure that I knew what I was doing. A few minutes later, I noticed something strange. My cart looked a little too full, and some of the things inside did not seem familiar. I saw a bag of chips that I had not chosen, and there was also a bottle of juice I did not remember putting there. I stopped in the middle of the aisle and stared at the cart with confusion. I looked at my list again, then back at the cart, and my face started to feel warm. Suddenly, I realized what had happened. I had taken the wrong shopping cart. I must have picked up someone else's cart near the entrance without noticing. My own list was still in my hand, but the food in the cart did not all belong to me. I felt embarrassed and a little nervous. I looked around and saw a woman at the end of the aisle looking toward me with the same kind of confusion. She was standing beside a cart that had a few items I did not recognize. At that moment, I understood that we had both been using the wrong carts. I felt silly, but also a little relieved because I was not the only one who made the mistake. I walked toward the woman and gave a small smile. "I think I took your cart by mistake," I said. She laughed kindly and said, "Oh, I think I took yours too." We both laughed a little, and the tension disappeared right away. It turned out that our carts were very similar, and we had both been in a hurry. We compared the items in each cart and slowly moved the correct things back. It felt like a small and funny conversation in the middle of the grocery store. A worker nearby saw what was happening and smiled at us, too. After we fixed the mistake, I checked my list again and made sure I had my own cart. The woman thanked me, and I thanked her. Then we each went back to our shopping. I felt much better after that. The whole situation had seemed embarrassing at first, but it became a simple and friendly moment instead. By the end of my shopping trip, I had all the things I needed, and I even felt happier than when I first arrived. I paid for my food, carried my bags home, and thought about the strange little mistake I had made. It was not a big problem, but it taught me to slow down and pay more attention even during normal daily life. Sometimes we move too fast and do things without looking carefully, and that can lead to small confusion. Still, it is nice to know that most mistakes can be fixed with a calm mind and a polite conversation. That day at the grocery store became a memory I still smile about. Now, every time I choose a shopping cart, I check it twice before I start shopping.
It was a normal weekday morning, and I woke up feeling a little sleepy but ready for work. The sky outside my window looked gray, but it was not raining yet. I checked the weather on my phone, and it said there was a chance of rain later in the day. I thought, maybe it will not rain now, and I decided to leave without an umbrella. I got dressed, made a quick breakfast, and drank a cup of coffee. The warm coffee helped me wake up, and I felt more ready to start my day. I packed my bag, took my keys, and left my house. Everything felt calm, and I believed it would be a normal day. As I walked down the street, the air felt cool and fresh. There were many people outside, going to work just like me. Some people were talking on the phone, and others were walking quickly. I noticed that a few people were carrying umbrellas, but I did not think much about it. I continued walking toward the bus stop, listening to music on my phone. The sky was still gray, but there was no rain. When I arrived at the bus stop, I stood there with other people and waited. After a few minutes, the bus came, and I got on. I found a seat near the window and looked outside as the bus moved through the city. Everything seemed normal, and I felt relaxed. When I got off the bus, I still had to walk about 10 minutes to reach my workplace. As soon as I started walking, I felt a small drop of water on my arm. Then another one. I looked up, and suddenly the rain started to fall. At first, it was light, but in just a few seconds, it became strong and heavy. I stopped for a moment, feeling surprised. "Oh no," I said quietly. I did not have an umbrella, and there was no place to hide. The rain fell fast, and I could feel my clothes getting wet. My hair became heavy, and my shoes started to feel uncomfortable. I tried to walk faster, but the rain only got stronger. People around me were opening their umbrellas or running to nearby buildings. I felt a mix of frustration and stress. I thought, why didn't I bring an umbrella? I looked around quickly and saw a small cafe on the corner of the street. Without thinking too much, I ran toward it. When I entered, I felt safe and dry again. I stood near the door for a moment, catching my breath. The people inside looked at me and smiled kindly. I felt a little embarrassed because I was wet, but I also felt relieved. I decided to buy a coffee while I waited for the rain to slow down. I sat near the window and watched the rain fall outside. It was strong, but after some time, it became lighter. I checked the time and saw that I might be a little late, so I sent a quick message to my boss. After about 15 minutes, the rain became much softer. I finished my coffee, stood up, and carefully walked back outside. This time, I walked slowly and tried to avoid the water on the street. When I finally arrived at work, I was a little wet, but I felt calm again. My coworkers laughed gently when they saw me, and I laughed too. It was not a perfect start to the day, but it was not a disaster either. I learned a simple lesson from that morning. Even if the rain is not falling now, it can start at any moment. It is better to be prepared, especially on cloudy days. Now, I always check the weather more carefully and carry a small umbrella in my bag. That experience stayed in my mind, and every time I see a gray sky, I remember that rainy walk. Sometimes, small problems can teach us good habits for the future.